Hi, my name is Sylvie. I am a certified health coach and I help women feel great and lose weight through fasting and whole food nutrition. Today's video is about should I count calories to lose weight? It might seem odd to talk about counting calories because I'm all about intermittent fasting, and one of the main benefits of intermittent fasting is that most people do not need to count calories to lose weight and reach their health goals. However, everyone is so unique, and intermittent fasting is not for everyone. So that's why I thought it would be great to spend some time and talk about calorie restriction and counting calories. So what I'm going to do is talk a little bit about the benefits of calorie restriction. Then I'm going to help you decide whether you should count calories with or without intermittent fasting. And we will also touch on the million-dollar question: will calorie restriction ruin your metabolism? I started learning about the benefits of calorie restriction through the work of Dr. Joel Fuhrman and Dr. Walter Longo. Both have done decades of research on these topics. Now, what you need to understand before we get started is that fasting and intermittent fasting are both forms of calorie restriction. That is how you lose weight. It's nothing magical. But what happens when you practice fasting and intermittent fasting is that your calorie consumption starts going down naturally without you having to worry about journaling everything you're eating. The benefits of calorie restriction have been studied many times over, mostly on animals, but also on humans. For most animals, calorie restriction increases lifespan and reduces cancer risks, heart disease, and diabetes. Typically, the calorie restriction accounts for between 10 and 40% of the control group's calorie intake. And some studies show a lifespan increase by as much as 40%. Now, most people who practice both intermittent fasting and calorie restriction or counting calories for weight loss do so because they find that intermittent fasting alone is not enough. I mean, it's possible to eat too much even if you practice intermittent fasting, and that's why sometimes counting calories for a short period of time might be a good idea. And if you want more tips to help you lose weight using intermittent fasting, I recommend you watch my video, Top 7 Tips for Weight Loss with Intermittent Fasting. But some people find that intermittent fasting is not something that they enjoy and they do not want to pursue as a lifestyle. And that's why I want to talk about using calorie restriction without intermittent fasting as well. Actually, the whole idea for this video came to me after talking with a friend who had been doing fasting for months and months and months, and she had decided that it was not working, she was not enjoying it, she was not getting the results she wanted. And then she started experimenting with counting calories and felt much better. She felt less deprived and she was getting the results she wanted. This is not typical. Most people do not do well on a sustained calorie restriction, but it does happen. And that's why we shouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater and say that calorie restriction is bad and it never yields results. If you are at a point where you're considering giving up on intermittent fasting and possibly just counting calories to achieve your weight loss goals, I just want you to consider a few key points. Number one, fasting naturally helps decrease your appetite, which means that for most of us, it will be more effective and most of us won't feel as deprived. And if you are struggling with intermittent fasting and are finding it very difficult and you are feeling deprived, you may want to try going keto for a short period of time before you start with intermittent fasting. Or another great option that I like to recommend is a modified fast. And I'll put some links in the description about modified fasting. Number 2, losing weight is hard for most people at first, no matter how you go about it. And if you're struggling with intermittent fasting, you may be making a few mistakes that are impeding your success. And so it might be a good idea for you to check the most common mistakes that people make when intermittent fasting. And I will leave a link for that as well. Number 3, you need a calorie deficit of around 500 calories a day to start losing weight. And that would help you lose about a pound a week. So as you can see, it's a slow process. If you want to lose 2 pounds a week, you will need a calorie deficit of 1,000 calories a day. I mean, that's a huge amount. For most people, that would mean eating like 500-600 calories a day, which is definitely not sustainable. Number 4, nutritional labels, including the number of calories, can be as much as 20% off. And so that is why a lot of people underestimate how many calories they are actually consuming. And lastly, whatever approach you choose, it has to become a lifestyle. If you are just doing intermittent fasting or counting calories short term, thinking that you're gonna go back to eating whatever you want whenever you want, that's a mistake. Most likely you will gain all the weight back and waste all your efforts. So whatever you do, make sure you can sustain it long term, and it has to become your lifestyle. Whether you decide to count calories or use intermittent fasting to achieve your weight loss goal, I have a 10-day meal plan that may be quite useful. If it's for counting calories, well, the 10-day meal plan is around 1,000 calories a day, so it's a good number for short term to help you lose weight. And it's also a meal plan that is meant to serve as a modified fast. And so if you are thinking of doing a modified fast to help you achieve your goals using intermittent fasting, that is also a good way to start, because this type of modified fast will help heal your body, and it's a severe short-term calorie restriction that will help you achieve ketosis. And so go check it out. It's a great meal plan, because if you struggle with feeling hangry a lot of the time, when you go without food, you will find that during this 10-day using the meal plan, you won't feel hungry, and that is a great benefit over the 5-day modified fast. Okay, so the last question that I promised we would talk about is, will counting calories ruin your metabolism? We hear about that all the time. The fewer calories you consume, the slower your metabolism will become. And nobody wants a slow metabolism, right? We all want to be able to eat as much as we want without gaining weight. And so I think that's one of the main reasons why calorie restriction has fallen out of favor. Well, apart from the fact that also most people will end up feeling hungry all the time, which is not nice. But anyway, now, will calorie restriction slow down your metabolism? Yes, it will, indeed. But it's a short-term slowdown. That's one thing to consider. So it's not like it's going to ruin your metabolism forever. And also for some people, it's a matter of changing your perspective. The first time I ever heard this thought was from Dr. Joel Fuhrman. He was saying that a slower metabolism is not a bad thing. There are studies that show that a slower metabolism means a slower rate of aging. So if your metabolism is slower, you're going to age slower. And another thing is, well, it means that you're saving on groceries. You don't have to spend as much time in the kitchen. So you could look at it that way. It's not necessarily bad if you need to eat less. You can spend more time enjoying the foods that you do get to eat. Sit down, savor them, and yeah, you won't be able to stuff your face and eat whatever you want whenever you want, but does it really have to be such a bad thing? Calorie restriction works in a similar way as intermittent fasting for health and longevity, as far as reducing the need for insulin goes. And so it is very beneficial to your health, and you don't need to fear that it will harm you. There are studies to show that short-term fasts can boost your metabolism by as much as 14%. But again, it's a short-term increase. And so if you think that you can use fasting to change your metabolism forever, again, you may discover that it's not the case. If you would like to learn more about how to reset your metabolism, I have a whole video on this topic and I will link it here. Now, in summary, if you're still wondering whether you should start counting calories to lose weight, let me just say that is not the approach I would favor and would recommend first. I would definitely recommend to any woman that she starts with intermittent fasting, but it is definitely something that you may need to consider down the line, whether you combine it with intermittent fasting or you decide to do it on its own. Counting calories may be the approach that works for you. I hope you found this video useful. Comment below if you have any questions, and thank you for watching.